Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Knights of the VENG table. If you are kind of new to this whole thing, the idea is there's folks from the clan, the Vengeful Clan family, which, by the way, we are now doing PlayStation before too long as an option, where we kind of talk together, share some ideas on things. There could be stuff like big news in Destiny, but it'll all be Destiny oriented, and each week we'll try to have at least a couple people that are rather consistent, such as myself, Church of Caboose. I'm a veteran player from Destiny 1. I do lots of everything. Like, I've got basically all the titles in the game done, other than Conqueror, and it's impossible for me to finish Chronicler. And then other people will introduce themselves a little bit in somewhat of a similar fashion, so you have an idea of points of views and whatnot. So we try to mix it up with some different like PvE sweats, like brand new players, things like that. And so today's topics, we're going to be going over the Vidoc just a little bit because it just came out the same day as we were recording this on Tuesday, October 27th. And then we're going to talk more about the roadmap. And then most of this episode is going to be going over the Sandbox and kind of our opinions on what's going on. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, because it helps us to have more engaging conversations in the future, to know what kinds of stuff you guys like, as well as get things like, hey, I agree with that. That was an excellent point, because that also helps us all out for free. And if you are looking to support the channel, I have links for all that kinds of stuff. I'm an affiliate with Redcon 1, and then there's a shop tagger list down below. You're welcome to check that out. And if you want to be a part of the Vengeful Clan, you're welcome to join in. We have room for everybody. Or if you just want to be in that Discord server without being a clan member, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel, join the server, and just put in there, hey, I'm a YouTube subscriber, and we'll get you a specific role so you can stay inside of that server without being in the clan. Whew, that's an intro. Okay. So, did you guys all have it? Oh, I need to introduce everybody. So, first up with one of our regulars, which is WRB Goalkeeper. Introduce yourself real quick, my
Hi,
friend.
guys. I'm WRB Goalkeeper.
All right. What kinds of stuff? What's your play style approach to the game? Like hardcore, veteran, casual? Like what would you say?
I'm more of a veteran, not like hardcore, but I play a lot.
All right. Gotcha. Then Lou TV.
Hey, I'm Lou TV. I'm kind of new to Destiny 2. I joined in Season of Arrivals, but I've been following the lore since about 2015, so I'm more so interested in the lore and the story side of it, but I also have a knack for competitive and certain exotic quests.
Ooh, we might get some fun feedback from you on something. If you haven't seen the Vidoc, heads up, spoilers alert, but Lou, you're going to get to weigh in on that one. And then last but not least, King of Hearts.
Hey, I'm King of Hearts. I am a veteran Destiny 1 player, and I've been playing for the last 5, going on 6 years now. Mainly PvE. I dabble in some PvP here and there.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys all so much for your feedback on about how you play. I really feel like that's going to help people understand, because folks might be kind of familiar with my channel because of me. Especially with my new thing of Confessions of an Average Gamer, where I do solo crap that I'm not definitely normally good enough to try and do. So I figured having you guys introduce how you like to play might be a little bit helpful. So last little warning, this is a big spoilers alert, especially if you have no idea of what happened in Forsaken with the particular bad guy baddie and haven't seen the Vidoc yet. So we're gonna give it. I'm gonna count from 3 to 1, and I'll try to remember to put a little timestamp to skip if you don't want to get this spoiler, and hopefully I remember to put in just a quick gameplay thing of it. But here we go. 3, 2, 1.
We warned you it was going to be dangerous down here. Impossible.
Did you guys see Aldrin is officially back as a Guardian, and we are fighting with him? I'm curious for Lou, since you mentioned that you are a lore individual.
Yes. I have seen it. I actually saw it like 3 minutes after it had came out. I'm kind of half and half on it because I wanted to go into Destiny 2, especially with Forsaken, because I really wanted to get back at Aldrin. Now that he's back as the Crow, I'm kinda half and half. I feel like it's more so a redemption arc, so I want to see how it goes on and what the dynamics are as it go in, and then after that, make
Yeah.
my final decision on how I should feel about the Crow.
Gotcha. That makes some sense. Now, from a more veteran person, maybe perhaps King on this one. So I personally thought it was an odd choice to give away that big of a spoiler. I would have assumed that'd be like one of those "oh my god" moments when you're playing the game and have no idea it's coming, because like most of us probably honestly forgot that he was even around. What do you think, King? Was that kind of like a smart idea to kind of show it off, or do you think like wait, what's your feelings about showing the Crow, aka Aldrin?
So I kind of feel like it's almost like what they did for Forsaken, where they spoiled right off the gate that Cade was gonna get killed. I feel like it's almost like a similar thing with that, where they're trying to build up this hype around it so that maybe if the people that were on the fence about it are like, holy shit, Aldrin's back, maybe this is my chance to get back at him, I need to get this story now, so on and so forth. So I feel like it's possibly a slight marketing move almost to have that big of a reveal happen in this Vidoc before the expansion came out.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're kind of thinking they're taking a risk, trying to maybe grab some folks while taking on that risk of the last time they did something like this. Some of us more seasoned people were like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, it's like,
Is that about summing up?
yeah, it's like, I feel like it's a good move because it kind of allows for this speculation also to happen, where it's like, because they mentioned it even in the Vidoc, where you get to see Aldrin kind of fight back and forth with who he was, who he is now, that kind of stuff. And I think it might, it allows for community speculation of like, where is this going to go? How does this character resolve these issues? So on and so forth with that kind of stuff. So I do also believe that as a marketing strategy that they're doing it to try to drum up hype, but I also believe that it could also generate community hype, because it's like they are allowing now the players who are like Lou, like the lore nerds, to be able to speculate and pull on evidence from the Vidoc and from previous lore-based situations to be able to create speculation and maybe even drum up some different conclusions that may or may not be right or wrong.
Those are excellent points. It definitely will probably have a lot of folks talking. Goalkeeper, do you want to add anything before we move on to the roadmap?
I think it's a smart idea because personally, if I forgot about Ultron Soft and just saw him in the video, it would make me want to buy the expansion more just to see what happens to him. And I'm kind of hoping it's an actual redemption arc, because I'm going to make a slight comparison to a TV show that some people might not probably heard of, Avatar: The Last Airbender. If they can craft this redemption arc as well as they did with Zuko, I think that it's gonna go really well.
I think so too, but I don't know who in this particular world of being interested would have no idea what The Last Airbender is. But if you have it, it's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure that's where I watched it at. So I guess bump someone's Netflix account and you'll know what we're talking about. Excuse me. Oof. All right, so for the roadmap, I think you guys have all had a chance to look at it. There wasn't a whole lot that was too surprising, I don't think, and we'll get your guys' thoughts soon. Everything kind of more or less releases on the same day, other than this time the seasonal, the hunt stuff is the week after Beyond Light for the story missions or whatever, which makes sense to me because there's a lot with Beyond Light. So if you have it all at the same time, it might be a little too much because they already had that issue with New Light players with there being too much stuff, and that was actually turning folks away even though it was free. What I thought perhaps was the most interesting was I'll try to have a screenshot here, but when you look at Beyond Light, what you get when you pay for it and what's free to all players leads me to think you don't get Stasis subclass unless you bought Beyond Light. Because under Beyond Light, it lists what you can get, and it says Beyond Light campaigns, Stasis unlocks, and then it lists for the 3 classes, and Salvation's Grip Exotic, and the Grenade Launcher quest. And then next to it, it has a bunch of most everything else. And so I thought that was rather intriguing to try to have that kind of a ploy to get a new super by making it where it's not free to everyone. Did you guys catch that out of curiosity? What do you think, Goalkeeper?
I think it makes sense because honestly, if they made they have to keep something for the people to pay money for. Because if they made a lot of the stuff that is worth it for free, then they're not gonna really be able to make much of a revenue otherwise. So keeping the supers locked behind along with the campaign behind Beyond Light, the paywall, I'm fine with it because honestly, I will spend money on this game until the day it dies. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, me too. I had figured the exotics were going to be what was lost. Because Hawk Moon's coming back because it's on the roadmap, and then there's, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 other exotics, so 12 total. I figured those would be what would be locked behind the paywall, and then everyone would get those subclasses.
Right now, No Time to Explain is locked behind the pre-order like Cold Heart is, so even if you just buy Beyond Light and you didn't pre-order it, and I don't know if they're gonna do like a pre-order, like they added to like a deluxe edition or not, but if you don't pre-order at this time, you're not gonna get No Time to Explain for a while. So, and then.
Oh, so Luke, because I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
Most likely, they're just listing all the exotics you can probably get during the season, but most of them are probably gonna be behind the paywall, because I know with this season, I think Ruinous Effigy and Traveler's Chosen were also locked behind the season pass too, were they not? So, even though they list all these exotics, you can still most of them be locked behind a paywall, like the season pass and stuff. So most of them probably won't be free.
Excellent point. Yeah, I hadn't thought about with Traveler's Chosen and such. Yeah, they might all mostly be locked. I bet the armor would be still available. Maybe the weapons won't be. So Lou, out of curiosity, did you mention that you had come back recently to Destiny, or is that am I thinking of somebody else?
Probably someone else.
Okay. Well then, I guess for King, do you think that incentive to try and get folks to buy just to get a new subclass is going to be something you think a new person would be down to pay for when they get it for free with Xbox Game Pass, for example?
So that actually brings up an interesting argument that we were having earlier in one of the Discord channels, was that what actually is available if you pick up Beyond Light with Game Pass, specifically for Xbox. And I think it was you, Goalkeeper, who posted it, but what people are speculating is that what you're going to get from Game Pass is that you are going to get the expansion, you are going to get the content that is locked behind that paywall, but you are not going to be getting the premium season pass tracker. So you're not going to get the multiple copies of the armor, you're not going to get a few exotics, you're not going to, or exotic engrams, you're not going to get a few exotic emotes or the ship or the ornament, so on and so forth. So my guess is that is what is going to happen with that, because I think that's actually what Bungie straight up said when they talked about the Game Pass stuff. But in regards to just straight up locking the supers behind the paywall, I think it makes a lot of sense when they do that, because intrinsically speaking, those supers are tied to the darkness, and the darkness is kind of tied to the story campaign of Beyond Light, so it wouldn't really make sense for those players that don't have access to the story to be able to obtain those supers.
Yeah, as I'm looking through, free to all players, or everyone gets Europa. I would assume it says new lost sectors. It'd be those lost sectors on Europa. It says 100 plus seasonal ranks, so I'm guessing the rewards within it would be different if they happen so far, based off if you paid or not. Then everyone gets the new Cosmodrome experience, which I would assume is their revamped version of if you just start off, you wake up in the Cosmodrome with your Guardian. Then the new armor and exotic weapon. Then it has new Triumph shaders, emblems, Iron Banner, Dawn, so basically the events. Yeah, so this will be kind of, I think, interesting to see if this ploy works, because I think Bungie's definitely trying to make it where stasis is enticing enough. Because maybe you're right. Maybe if you get those exotics, you can't use all of them. I would assume the exotic armors are going to be mostly working with stasis, and so if you don't have stasis, then there's no point in having those new exotic armors. How do you feel about that, Lou?
Well, from a new player's perspective, who pre-ordered it quite a while ago, I don't have much of a problem with it, especially thinking of it from multiple angles, being PvE and PvP, because I know that a lot of us was saying that in speculation that stasis is going to be kind of like that thing that really breaks PvP. So I feel like putting it behind a paywall kind of lessens the numbers of people using it off the bat. Though I would say that from what I've experienced already with the season pass for Season of Arrivals, it doesn't seem that much different, other than well, it kind of reminds me of the supers that you get for different expansions. I believe Forsaken was the one you get for like Well of Radiance. So
yes,
it kind of reminds me of that. I'm not too I guess one could say bothered by it. I feel like it's a pretty okay plan for them to go through.
All right. Awesome. I appreciate you guys' input with all of this. I'm real excited. For anyone that's watching, Season of the Hunt, just like Forsaken, where we had Black Armory and stuff, or maybe not Forsaken, Shadowkeep, excuse me. So Season of the Hunt is November through February, and based off the roadmap, it says November 10th to January 12th. It says Uncover Europa's Secrets. So I'm curious if that Triumph is why it's doing that. So keep in mind when you're playing through that Europa stuff might have some kind of a January time limit, whereas the Season of the Hunt goes through some point in February. So I'd assume it goes probably at least 4 months. You guys feel like we're ready to move on to the main meat and potatoes of the Sandbox?
Sure, I think we kind of covered everything that needs to be said about the roadmap and the upcoming season.
What this doesn't say is that
All right. Okay.
what this doesn't say is that we should be getting 3 new seals next season too. 1 for the season,
I would
1 for
assume.
Beyond Light,
It might be more.
and at least it's when they in the one of the previous 12s it showed 3 new seals, the seasonal one, a Beyond Light one, and just a redacted one. Not even saying
Which
what it was
might
for.
be the raid one. Because
Yeah,
every
probably for
raid
the
has
raid.
had a seal.
Well, see, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 4. 1 for the season, 1 for Europa, 1 for the raid, and 1 for the new version of Gambit.
Oh.
Because so far they've had 1 for Gambit the regular and Gambit Prime. That was Dredgen and Reckoner, respectively. So I wouldn't be that surprised if there's 4 new seals.
They're keeping
Then there's
Dredgen in.
probably going to be
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Dredgen is still a seal that you will be able to earn in
So
Beyond Light.
that makes me think they won't be adding a new one for Gambit, because Gambit is, from what I can tell, is staying majority more like just standard Gambit with some Gambit Prime stuff added in. So
They're combining the mode. It's entirely possible that there's not going to be a new title for it. I just wouldn't be surprised if there is. Then of course there's going to be the third iteration of Conqueror and Flawless for people that have gone, both of those so far. I would assume that's going to keep going for the foreseeable future, as far as titles go. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just the 3, and I'm just being a little too hopeful for an easy 4th one with Gambit. That could just be a me thing.
Right. Another thing that I found interesting is that Xivu Arath is popping up for the first time in a minute, other than the lore. Because I remember I was telling a few of my clanmates about it. I was like, we know a bunch about Savathun. Oryx is already dead because we killed him. I want to know more about Xivu Arath because she's supposed to be this other, top tier hive god. I want to know more about her. So I'm actually super pumped that she's finally getting a bit of story in it as well. So I'm pretty excited about that.
So
And that might be a good idea for another, because they have a couple of lore loving folks hop on in, and we could let my wife run it or something, because I know nothing on lore. But she knows a ton, and because she loves, half the time when she wants to do a triumph, it's because there's lore associated to it, and she wants to have it as opposed to looking it up on the internet.
I also just
So,
saw that one of our fellow clanmates posted a screenshot saying that, unlike past seasons, a lot of the seasonal content is going to stay in here for the rest of year 4, so you don't miss out on it.
Yes. Yep. It's going to be around for the whole year 4. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, they mentioned that with Shadowkeep, that they're having people express frustrations with feeling like that they weren't available that much for a season, or for whatever reason, then they missed out on everything. And that now they're like, hey, pretty much every seasonal content's going to stick around for the duration of that year. So I'll be curious to find out later, is at the end, when we get to that last expansion or the season of, I guess, the year of Beyond Light, if that means you'd have a year after that expansion, so like summer 2021 or 22, I guess, to get all that stuff, or if that would still expire with is it Witch Queen that's next?
Witch Queen.
I think it is.
Witch Queen.
Yeah, Witch Queen. Yeah, Lightfall is the 3rd one. That's right. Yep. So Witch Queen.
So
that'd be interesting.
if I may, real quick, sorry, I don't mean to cut anybody off.
We're good.
But what Lou was saying about with Xivu Arath coming in, it makes me wonder then, and now finding out, because I didn't actually know that the seasonal content was staying in for year 4, with that coming in as well, it makes me wonder if we might not get a Season of Opulence type deal where the final season of year 4 before Witch Queen comes out, if we might not get a raid in which we will battle against Xivu Arath before then taking the fight to Savathun.
Intriguing.
It's a thought that I just had with the fact that for the first time outside of the lore, and we lost Church, outside of the lore, that we're actually seeing Xivu Arath play a central role in in-game story.
Right.
So
Yeah, that'd be interesting having to have one more obstacle to go through before we can even get to Savathun.
Definitely.
So it was a thought I had. I figured I'd share it.
It's a good one. I definitely would not mind having kind of like another hive god as a raid. Though
Well,
the issue is, would they do the same for Savathun? Because she is going to be in the next DLC after that.
Most likely, Savathun is going to be a raid boss similar to what Oryx was, if not, what is it? If not both of them being raid bosses, then at the very least, Savathun being the central focus of the Witch Queen DLC should obviously be a raid boss, unlike Zol being a worm god who was killed in a strike, which is BS. So.
All right, and I think with that might be a good time to go ahead and go to our sandbox if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, I think at this point everything has been said.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, but my audio cut out actually for a little bit, so I had to hang up and rejoin in. So I want to make sure I didn't like derail anything too much. So glad that we're all good. So what I thought we might do for this part, I have it all pulled up on my computer. I would just try to kind of summarize briefly each section of what's getting messed with, and then folks could kind of share what they think. And I'll probably just try and go in the order of goalkeeper, Lou, and King, and then we just cycle that over and over.
Alright, sounds good.
All right. So you guys are welcome to share what you think it'd be for PvE or PvP, and if I might weigh in every now and then too, because I have personal feelings about the mountaintop. So, anyways, first up would be hand cannons. So the top says they're making changes to give hand cannon subfamilies more diversity and more reasons to use each. So the aggressive hand frames, which are currently 110s, are being bumped up to 120s. Which means they shoot 120 rounds per minute instead of 110. And then the reason they did this was because they feel it allows custom tuning of stats, which from what I've seen, people are taking to feel like then they could take an individual, I guess at this point now, 120 hand cannon and tweak it a little bit instead of it having to be the whole family and everything gets adjusted. Then with other hand cannon stuff, they're making adaptive and precision frames have a range stat that has now more impact on minimum damage fall off for both of the archetypes. So damage fall off for 100 range is now at 25 meters instead of 20. And then I guess people have done math with magnification, and it's usually getting closer to 30, 35 for range stuff. And then precision hand cannons, which is the 180 RPM, they're getting magazine increase by 37%, which I think will be interesting with malfeasance because it's already a huge magazine for hand cannon. And it says all these things include affecting exotics with that rate of fire. And the last hand cannon thing is that lightweights, basically anything that was a lightweight, which is 150 rounds per minute, is being dropped to a 140, other than Sunshot. Sunshot's going to stay at 150, which to me means they're going to be making their own 150s or something during and beyond light, but that will be determined. So, goalkeeper, what do you think of some of these hand cannon changes? I'm not sure if you're a hand cannon man.
I personally don't use many hand cannons, but I can see how a lot of these changes can help like bring hand cannons more into the meta, I guess. The rate of fire for the aggressive, I think will help a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna help that much. Personally, being able to shoot 10 more bullets per minute I don't think it's gonna change a whole lot. The adaptive, being able to shoot like 5 extra meters without damage fall off, it's definitely gonna help in more close fights, not like mid-range fights, I think. So that will be decent. Having more ammo for the 180, that's actually gonna be really good. I like that change. Just having more ammo, period, for certain guns really helps them. And then
What a shame for Not Forgotten, huh?
I personally don't have that gun.
Right,
I don't have Luna's Hour or Not Forgotten, so I don't know how well this is gonna change them. And then
sorry, just real quick because I was actually looking at it. I don't know about Not Forgotten, but Luna's is actually a precision frame, and it's a 150 RPM.
So they both are 180s, and then when they first came out, and then like I worked my ass off, and I got both of them, and then they got nerfed, or I guess adjusted to being 150s. So they're both the same frame. So Not Forgotten should be the same as Luna's Howl.
Okay, I just wasn't sure because I just was looking that up.
They're just all getting sunset, and so like Like my Not Forgotten's at 1060, and that's the highest it can be at. So that's what I mean. Like, too bad about Not Forgotten, because like you can't. Like, if you wanted to use it for Trials or Iron Banner, it wouldn't be as good of an option as basically anything else that's current. Unfortunately, too bad, because they were kind of useless for a little while. But maybe with the more rounds, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But now it doesn't matter a whole lot. I was trying to be funny, and I failed, and that's okay.
And then
The,
the White
go-
Lake
keep
moving
going.
to adaptive, I think, will probably help them with more balancing issues, because they've said that 150s were a bit above the mark than 140s in Crucible and stuff. And then interesting that they're keeping the Sunshot at 150. So I don't know if the rate of fire has any effect with this ability. And your comment about them adding new 150s in the Beyond Light, I don't think they're going to do that since they're making this change. I think for the foreseeable future, at least unless it's exotics, Sunshot's probably going to be the only 150 or rate of fire hand cannon for the foreseeable future from now on.
Gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. Is there anyone else that feels particularly wanting to share about hand cannons before we move to sniper rifles?
No, go ahead, Lou.
All right. So, we'll have. Let's see, make sure. All right, we have Lou talking about sniper rifles. You a big sniper rifle fan, Lou?
I'm talking about hand cannons.
Oh, okay. Well, then keep going,
Yeah,
my friend.
so I use hand cannons a bit. I love Crimson and Malfeasance. I worked my butt off to get Malfeasance. So I'm actually quite interested in the magazine upscaling, because I feel like for Trials and Iron Banner is going to be definitely a good option, especially because of its perk. So I've been telling a couple of people I do run Trials with a bit that I would like to see how we could do Malfeasance runs with it.
Yeah. Malfeasance would be very intriguing with this whole thing. I wonder if it's going to pop up. Some folks are thinking Crimson's going to be pretty busted.
Yes, I definitely think that, because despite the fact that it's I believe it's a 415 rate of fire, it does bring it down to the, I guess you could say, archetype of an adaptive hand cannon, and it is good enough, though the range would definitely help a little bit more. I'm still working on my catalyst for it, so I'm not too sure if the extra bump is going to make it even better.
Good. All right, yeah, good point. Anyone else want to add in more stuff about hand cannons? All right, let's go ahead and move on to sniper rifle adjustments. So basically, they wanted to make sniper rifles so powerful, but without being so easy to use that they dominate. I'm guessing they're specifically thinking of things like Beloved and mostly Revoker. So what they're doing is they're adjusting how aim assist is affected by sniper rifle zoom level. Lower zoom scopes have less aim assistance, higher zoom scopes have more. Scopes with around 50 zoom are unchanged. So the lowest zoom scopes have a large reduction in the aim assist cone, and the highest zoom scopes have a very small increase, as said. Does anyone, so King, what do you think about, do you think this is going to change how people use Revoker?
So
Even though it's being a sunset?
yeah, I was about to say, with Revoker being sunset, I don't know if that type of change is gonna affect it that much. And Revoker, if I'm remembering correctly, is a low zoom scope, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's very low. It's the lowest currently.
Okay, so based off of that, with this change coming about, with how they're saying that the lower zoom scopes are going to have a large reduction in their AA cone, to me it almost sounds like that they want to pull it back enough where it's where they're not popping off headshots left and right regardless of the zoom. And Oh god, I'm not really a sniper player, but I know some stuff about this. But I feel like, in general, snipers are more of a more high skill ceiling weapon, which means that I feel like even with this reduction in the AA cone angle for the low zoom scopes, which I believe are preferred in PvP, I think you're not gonna see a lot of fall off in the usage of snipers in PvP, because you're gonna see you're still probably gonna see more of the high skill players still running around with their snipers, regardless of the change to the aim assist, still popping off their headshots that they want to be popping off, and still able to effectively use it, even though this change is occurring.
Yeah, so I tend to use snipers quite a bit inside of Crucible, and actually Revoker had like the lowest aim assist, but it was still really, really easy to use, actually. I had a really easy time using Revoker, not as much of a easy time using other stuff. Anyone else in here before I kind of rant on them just a little bit, if you feel like they use sniper rifles in Crucible and have some thoughts to kind of fill in for King?
If this makes Revoker less good in Crucible, I'm all for it.
Well, Sunsetting kind of did that
See,
already.
I don't think it's going to make it less good. It's just not going to be as prevalent where power level matters. But where it doesn't matter, like comp, I'm pretty sure you're going to see lots of Revoker still. Because like it already didn't have that much aim assist. And what made it really popular is because you got a bullet back when you missed. So you could try taking that crazy lucky shot, and if you missed, oh well, you got the round back.
That's actually a good point about Revoker specifically, because that perk in it of itself, and I know that it's a pinnacle perk, but that perk in and of itself, I feel like kind of broke snipers a little bit, where it's like, unless you know what you're doing with a sniper, I feel like for the casual so-and-so player, Revoker, it was your go-to sniper, even if it was a pinnacle and it had a fairly difficult requirement if you weren't used to using snipers. But yeah, I do think with that perk, it kind of broke snipers a little bit, because, like you said, you could take that wild, crazy, lucky shot that if you hit them, you were gonna hit them. But if you missed, well, who the hell cares? You still got your bullet back.
Yep. I can't tell how many fantastic, crazy headshots I've gotten with Revoker where I only took the shot because I knew I'd get it back. Like, I probably wouldn't have done it with Beloved or something. Alright, well, let's go ahead. We're going to skip a couple of options. Basically, auto rifles got nerfed, so Gnawing Hunger, while it'll still be good, it won't necessarily be as dominating as it currently is. And things like hand cannons and stuff should all have rather similar time to kill as Gnawing Hunger will. So that's a good thing. I thought we'd go ahead and just talk a little bit on the Mountaintop, because they're nerfing it, even though it's getting sunset. So I was kind of surprised to see Mountaintop get nerfed. So what they're doing is they're making it where they're reducing splash damage by 33%, so you have to get more of a direct hit in order to do a kill. They're reducing the projectile velocity, so it's going to travel just a little bit slower than it will before. It says it's going to be 20% faster than other breach grenade launchers instead of 40% faster. Then it's reducing in-air accuracy, and now has a significant projectile error while in the air, which around 7 degrees without the Icarus grip mod, and substantially less if you put that grip mod on. So do you guys think this is going to stop little bastards like me from using Mountaintop inside of Quick Play?
I personally think that for those who have Mountaintop, this isn't necessarily going to stop them from using it, but it is more likely to create even just a slight skill ceiling that people are now going to have to adjust for to actually be able to use it effectively. But I do still see it being a fairly powerful weapon.
All right, Oscar, what do you think, goalkeeper?
I think it's good. Yeah, like Kingo says, it's gonna be a slightly to actually require some skill to actually use it, because it's gonna be less of a sniper now, since they gave it the reducing in air accuracy, so you can't just snipe it from midair. You can still snipe it from midair. You just gotta get slightly more skill on it since you got the air, but it's probably still gonna be prevalent in Crucible, so because even though it's getting sunset, it's still gonna be usable in quick play and stuff, since that doesn't matter on your power level. But you should be dying less from not being you should be dying less from not being hit on the body, since they reduce the splash damage.
Yeah, my guess is that's also trying to help reduce the whole thing of get a round off flip to your energy. I do that all the time. Shoot around a mountaintop, immediately flip to my drain. And it's going to make it a little bit harder to get easy cleanups when they're absolutes. What do you think, Lou?
So for me and how I play, I find Mountaintop to be a major bane. However, I'm still working on getting my own, mainly because I've seen its use in solo activities, and I feel like that would be a perfect thing to actually give myself to, if I want to be by myself a bit without my clanmates or pestering them to do something extra, it would give me that extra bump in damage. But in the Crucible, I personally feel like it's not meant to be a weapon that you use in there. I feel like it's more so a PvE weapon, but I'm not expecting a lot of people to still see it as something that they should not use. I feel like a lot of people are gonna still go in there, use Mountaintop as much as they want. It probably will, taper off in Trials and Trial of Osiris, but yeah.
So if I may just silently interject on one of those points, how you said that it's more of a PvE weapon, I will say that it was originally designed as a Crucible pinnacle, which means that I do believe the developers intended for it to be used primarily in Crucible.
Yes, that was the original intent, as I'm sure it was with Recluse. It's kind of funny how there's a couple of Crucible pinnacle weapons that resulted in being amazing in PvE and PvP. And I'm always surprised about how at first I hated Mountaintop instead of Crucible, and now I love it. It's like all I was using for the last 6 months, because I'm a douchebag. Right. Was there anything else people felt like they wanted to add it in for the TWAB or anything like that before we conclude?
I'm all for the falling guillotine nerf. Yes.
God, yeah.
That damage is gonna be slightly missed, but it's kind of crazy when you start using a legendary sword to do damage against a lot of bosses over exotics that were designed for that type of thing. So I'm all for the fall guillotine being more on hand with other damage weapons, since it's getting a quarter of its damage nerfed.
Yeah, that is.
Well, as I mentioned in one of my videos, I figured the nerf was because with stasis you can freeze enemies, and since you can swing that sword around, you would then be able to get a whole bunch of sitting ducks in one heavy attack. And that's why I figured why they were nerfing it.
Well, I actually feel like it wouldn't. They're not nerfing it because of that, because in all honesty, let's be real here, with the Falling Guillotine heavy attack, you're not using that for ad control, you're using that for boss DPS because it deals a shit ton of damage.
Right.
So I think that's why the nerf is actually coming down the pipe with that.
That does also make some sense.
With this season, when it came out, Falling Guillotines has been used to kill 90% of the bosses primarily this season for as the meta, because the Falling Guillotine is, if the boss is on the ground and doesn't have a super strong smash on it that like kills you one shot, Falling Guillotine is like the go-to answer. Basically kills
Yeah.
any boss in half a minute.
Yeah, because I think it was Dado specifically. He showed a video of a Grandmaster Nightfall where him and his teammates melted I think it was the Lake of Shadow Strike, melted that boss in literally seconds on Grandmaster by just using Falling Guillotine and I believe Oppressive Darkness as well.
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty great. Man, I'm sad that, but I also can't be too mad about it.
There was a thing, kind of like a dissenting opinion about the nerf for it, was that despite the fact that it's a lot of damage, it's kind of a risk-reward type of thing, because you are going up literally in front of the boss in that range where they could stomp you to death. I know that we try to do it in Prophecy a lot when the boss is in the back of the room and finally is about to go back in so we could go into the next part. A lot of my clanmates try to go in to do that, usually dying because it's too much damage to take. But I feel like that's the only really good opinion as to why it should be nerfed for that, because it did do that, risk reward strategy.
Yeah, and if you had a Warlock on your team, you can circumvent a lot of that damage just by placing a well at the boss's feet, too. So that
And
if you had a Warlock,
yep. Don't you also get a damage bonus while you're standing in the well?
Yes.
So there's also that as well.
Then if you had the God, like the Fall Guillotine without any of the good mods was still a lot of damage, but if you had the God roll of Whirlwind Blade, Jagged Edge, and Relentless Strikes, you did a lot of damage above even just a standard Falling Guillotine. So,
I was actually able to do a 2-man Pit of Heresy today, and we one-phased the boss with Well and Falling Guillotine.
Yeah, that I think has kind of become the strategy for even just normal running pit is now just the well with swords. But then again, I feel like that's like the strategy for anything right now.
Right.
So.
like the Last Wish raid, all the bosses are killable by swords. You don't need to bring anything else other than your swords, and your Last Wish done. Which is not the intent. Was not the original intent for that raid. So having Fall Guillotine be able to kill every single boss in Last Wish is kind of broken.
Yeah, that is kind of broken.
All right. Well, there's anything else anyone wants to add?
If I could, I actually want to talk about the Mida Mini Tool and Drang for a hot second, because
Yeah, go for it.
they are finally doing something where they are changing the original versions, not the Season of Opulence versions, but the original versions to be more in line with the Season of Opulence versions, where they're moving their exotic synergy perks with the Mighty Multi-Tool and the Sturm respectively. Those are becoming intrinsic perks, and also both versions are getting new perks and are also then going to be sold by the gunsmith to versions that will not have infusion caps, similar to their exotic counterparts, which will allow them to be taken as high as you want them. Which I think is a really nice move, considering that exotics specifically aren't getting sunset.
Yeah, which is why to me that made sense that we're doing that. I was just kind of bummed the Baroque versions are getting sunset, because then I was gonna keep loving my full auto drain.
Yeah, that is a little upsetting because you won't be able to. Because from the way that I'm reading it in the TWAB, they have static rolls similar to how they were in year one, so you won't be able to take that like absolutely god rolled Drang Baroque or Callus mini tool that you have and continue leveling them. But I still do like that they are addressing this because it now allows for those two weapons, even though they may not see a lot of use, it allows them to kind of still be relevant in the coming months and years.
Yep, because then otherwise those exotics will lose half their main, I guess, attraction.
Well, in all honesty, Might of Multi-Tool is completely fine if you don't use the Might of Mini tool. It's more Sturm that kind of feels that sting if we lose Drang in that way, because the only way that you can actually activate that overflow perk is with Drang. So.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. All right. Anyone else got anything they would like to add? No. All right. Well, everyone, thank you guys all so much for watching. This was a fun episode of the Knights of the Venge Table. I appreciate you guys all for joining in and helping out with that. And hopefully we can have at least some of you guys back again next week. We'll try to upload it and have things live every Wednesday by about like 2 p.m. Eastern is our goal. Did you guys have any personal channel plugs you wanted to make or anything before we officially sign this off?
I am a social gremlin and have no such things.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for watching. This was Knights of the Venge Table. Have a great week and happy grinding, y'all. All right. That'll be the end of that.
I am sorry. I
have to figure out how to actually sound that.
I had to add that last part. I'm sorry.
That's all good.
To get Craig to leave, you just
how
type the
do
same thing instead of join. Just hit leave. Type leave.
Okay.